Hello everybody, it's Julia here with another tarot card review. This one today is going to be the Zombie Tarot, which one of my very dear friends bought me for Christmas very kindly. I've wanted this deck for some time actually, and I really thought that it was going to be just quite light-hearted and something a little bit different for me to use, but actually, as I've sat and soaked up the energy of these cards and thought about them, I've realised that actually this is quite a timely time in history actually to be looking at cards like this. And I'm talking about the COVID issues that we're having around the world. I think when we look at the horror genre as a whole, which is something I've always been fascinated with, all kinds of monsters and ghosts and creatures, and it's all very fascinating to me, but for different reasons. I suppose when we think about vampires, there's a kind of dangerous sort of sexy desire about vampires. With werewolves, there's this kind of having to acknowledge our own sort of animal instincts and our own sort of animal urges. With Jekyll and Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, there is the thing of the fear of the monster within. What else do we have? There's the picture of Dorian Gray, which is about wanting to live forever, I guess. And then there's zombies, isn't there? And I suppose, other than the fear of being brutally murdered and eaten by another person, which would obviously be a big fear for all of us, there is also within zombies this, I suppose, collective fear of infectious and contagious diseases. And we're living through that at the moment, aren't we? And what a lot of trouble it is causing for the world. I think that some of you out there might consider me to be an anti-vaxxer. I have not been vaccinated. I put that out there. I have several health problems and I've made that choice for myself. I suppose some of you might consider me also to be a conspiracy theorist. But I find both of those words quite offensive, really, and I would like to just consider myself to be a truth seeker, to be a conscious person, to be awake, to be open to things, to question things, to be curious about things. And I also, at the heart of the whole COVID drama and the whole vaccination drama around the world, I just very strongly believe that it's our body, we're all individuals, and you should have ultimate freedom to make choices and decisions about your own body and your own life. And really, that's ultimately what much of my feelings about COVID and the pandemics and the vaccination programs that are being so relentlessly pushed on people is about. So, as I said, if this video is not for you, you will probably already know that, because I think you'll already know where I'm coming from with what I'm saying. But I would like to have a look at these cards, and we can explore maybe a little bit more about this kind of collective fear that we all have about communicable and infectious, contagious diseases. So the box that these cards come in is beautiful. I love this box. It's a really nice box, really sturdy box. It says, "Insight and ammunition for surviving the undead uprising. A mystical prediction oracle with card deck and instructions." And this is a 78 card deck. It's based quite strongly, I think, really on the Rider-Waite deck in many ways. All of the suits are the same except Pentacles, which in this deck are hazards. Which one is the hazards here? This is this. Instead of Pentacles, we have down here, we have hazards. So I'm going to show you a few of the cards, not all of them. This isn't a flip through as such really, and some of the images on the cards are not, probably not for the faint-hearted really. They're a little bit disturbing. But I'm going to show you some of the cards and we'll have a little look at them. So it also comes with a lovely little book. I love this book, is brilliant actually. Each of the each of the cards has a lovely picture. Has a little bit about the card, has some keywords. Yeah, and has a slightly different slant on the meanings of the cards, which you would expect from the Zombie Tarot, I guess. What else is there in here? There's a few spreads, a few layouts that you can use. The broken heart, the gravestone, the eyeball, very nice. Tells you how to conduct a reading, how to understand some of the suits. Yeah, so it says the instructions are by Stacey Graham. The cards are illustrated by Paul Keppel and Ralph Gironi of Headcase Design. So there we go. This is Quirk Books of Philadelphia. And at the back of the little book here, there's some ads. This is sort of like 1950s sort of Good Housekeeping, isn't it? It's like a magazine of 1950s. Information and ads. They're sort of rot away, these horrid dead spots. Smell of death, cover it up. Self-defense lessons, armor, grenades. So it's like everything that you would need here to survive a sort of zombie apocalypse, I guess. The zombie undead awakening. So yeah, excuse me. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat today, I think. So the inside of the box is lovely. There's a nice sort of little soft bit in there for the cards to go in. We've got bullets all around the edge of the box, which is great. And then the cards, this is the back of the cards, which is nothing special at all. It doesn't really say or do or mean anything, does it? It's just another, it's just like the book here in the box, isn't it? But that's fine. The cards themselves are of good quality actually. I think they'll last well. They're not horribly shiny. They shuffle well. They're quite sturdy. And as I said, the artwork on them is just fantastic. They're kind of 1950s inspired, with all of the artwork here. Sort of American 1950s inspired, I guess. So, like I said, I'm going to show you a few of the cards and we will talk a little bit about them. So we have the Fool here at the start of his journey here, and he's got his picnic and his flowers, and I think he's just completely oblivious, isn't he, to the undead arising out of the ground all around him. He's just oblivious to what's about to happen, isn't he? This card I found really, really interesting. I've put at the top of the deck here, I've taken out some of the cards that I want to discuss, so they're not going to come out in order. This is the Magician. I found this card particularly fascinating. You can see that there's a zombie on his table there. He's been doing experiments clearly, and we could look at this card in two different ways, couldn't we? We could look at the fact that he may be trying to find a cure, to cure this disease, to cure these zombies. But we could also, couldn't we, look at this card and think that perhaps he might be playing God here. Perhaps this scientist here in some way has contributed towards this disease, or has manufactured this disease, or has an interest in this disease, in prolonging this disease even. They're all thoughts that went through my head as I looked at this card, and I couldn't help but immediately think of what's going on in the world at the moment, because while I have no doubt that COVID is a disease and a real disease, and it is affecting some people in this world, I think that there is a lot invested in this vaccination program, way too much invested in this vaccination program. And for me, being somebody who thinks about things quite deeply, I can't help but think, why? You know, why are they so invested in everybody having this injection? Obviously, it's about money to a greater deal. They're kind of signing up people as customers for life, really, aren't they, by ensuring that everybody has this vaccination, even children. I think if they could get it onto the schedule of vaccinations for children, that's a huge money-making opportunity, isn't it? But also we have to look at what else might be going on there, and just what part science has had to play in the development of this condition, this disease, this problem for people, and that many of these people have no real incentive for it to stop, I guess. And this card was very, very thought-provoking for me, the Hierophant here. The Hierophant is obviously normally a spiritual teacher, a monk, a priest, a religious person of some kind, somebody that can help you to find the truth out. And in this deck we have the TV, we have the news, because I think that's what's going on here. This man is reading the news, and again I couldn't help but find this extremely thought-provoking, because the media itself is a very, very powerful tool. And I think that in my country, in the UK, the BBC, for instance, has been broadcasting and brainwashing the public on such a large scale for so many decades now, that people see the TV, or even YouTube, any kind of media really, people can see that as the truth. People often only tend to watch one channel. They have their favourites, and they tend to believe what they're told. And I just think it's very important to look at different media outlets, to look at different opinions, and to not believe everything that you're told, I think, is as far as I will go with that card there. And that perhaps if you're looking for spiritual wisdom, perhaps the place to look for that is inside yourself, not by sitting and listening to the same sort of regurgitated scripts that have often been written by people with their own interests at heart, not yours. So there we go. This card I thought was so funny. This is the Hermit, and this is obviously representative of Virgo. This is me, and this woman here is laid on the sofa. She's reading a book. She's got her chocolates. Yeah, she's in a nice little home, all comfortable, tucked up, and through every little gap there are hands trying to get at her. There are people zombies trying to get at her. And she's just ignoring them all quite blissfully. And I think, again, that resonated. And that made me think about myself, because that's pretty much what I've been doing for the entirety of the various pandemics and the sort of various lockdowns and dramas that have been going on in the world. I think a lot of the time, if I didn't look at the news, I would be quite oblivious to many of the things that were going on out there. And I would say the same for a lot of us, actually. I don't think it's just me. So I think it's very, very important to not be scaremongered, to not kind of give in to this fear porn energy that is so big in the world today. We're going to skip ahead here to Temperance. Normally we see an angel trying to blend, I think, is it water and wine? I'm not sure, but we see an angel in the process of blending and moderating different liquids. And in this card, what we see again is science and the interfering of science. This card is the mixing of human and zombie blood. And again, we could say that quite benignly, this is in the hope of a cure. This is in the hope of making things better for humankind. Or we could also say that this is playing God yet again, isn't it? This is meddling. This is causing further dramas and disasters down the way. This is not helpful. I wasn't going to look at any more of the major arcana, to be honest, but I suppose this is an interesting card as well here, the take on this, the Tower, isn't it? Normally we see a tower about to fall that's been struck by lightning, but I think really what's going on here is the message that even if you live at the top of the tower, these zombies are still going to get you. There's kind of like no escape, is there? Even shut away at the top of the tower, the zombies still manage to break in and break through, which I think is a lot of what drives the fear for people, isn't it? I know that I've certainly thought about these things at times. I think it would be naive to say that these viruses and what's going on in the world today is not scary. But I think we should possibly be scared for different reasons than we currently are anyway. For me, I mean, for somebody else, this might represent the fear that no matter what precautions you take, that this virus is still going to get you. But for me, this feels more of a, will I be forced one day? You know, will my freedoms, will my human rights be taken away from me? Will I no longer have the choice to choose how I live my life and what I allow to happen to my body? As I said, I have some chronic health conditions. My body is extremely sensitive to most things, most medications, and so for that reason I've chosen not to have the vaccination. In fact, I've chosen not to have any further vaccinations in my life, and I'm prepared to accept a certain amount of restrictions on my life because of that, but I'm certainly not prepared to accept that somebody else can make that decision for me. So yeah, that's what that card prompted in me to think about. When we jump ahead again to the last two cards of the major arcana, we have Judgment here. And what's happening here is a nuclear bomb, isn't it? Is that this is what's been decided for the well-being of the planet, is that the only thing left to do is to blow them up, is to eradicate them all, finally, definitely. Again, you could read what you wanted into that card. And then quite disturbing at the end with the world. We see the world on fire and we see one little man in a bunker somewhere. Perhaps the person that pushed the button, because in this picture here we have a person with his finger on the button about to push. And I think that that's what's happened here. So again, you can take this card however it resonates for you. But I think for me, it just makes me feel that we're on a very dangerous path at the moment. And who knows where it will lead to, who knows where it will end for us all. So what I'm going to show you now is just the suit of hazards, really, just because I just thought they were hilarious, really, because what's ultimately happened in the suit of hazards, which is the suit of pentacles, is just gradually over time we have domesticated the zombies, which is hilarious, isn't it? But I also like this here, the Ace of Hazards, the Ace of Pentacles, because this new zombie emerging out of the ground here is covered in their jewellery, in their jewels and their riches, and yet the fact that they had money and they were rich and they were successful, I guess, in life, if you want to call being rich successful, it made no difference in the end, did it? They still became a zombie. So we've got the Two of Hazards here, which again is kind of like a scientist or a researcher or somebody with his pet zombie. The Three of Pentacles, and again it's like the zombie here has become the pet dog, isn't it? Like they're throwing a bone for it, the family. Quite bizarre, isn't it? This is a fantastic card, the Four of Pentacles. This is what we normally see is a person holding on to their pentacles, holding on to their money and to their security, and that's what's going on here, isn't it? This man has holed himself up in a shop with his weapons and his food, and he could last a long time there, really, I guess, couldn't he? But he's going to be very lonely. He's going to be very lonely. And I guess that resonates for me also, because I realise that I'm perhaps now in the minority of people. I have friends and I have family like myself that are not vaccinated for their own reasons. And some of those reasons I agree with and some that I don't. I wouldn't consider myself an extremist, but I guess other people might in some way. I don't know. But I can't help but think when I look at this card that he's just going to be lonely, isn't he? He may well be safe and alive, but he's going to be lonely because he's had to hole himself up at home on his own. And I guess many of us have felt that way over the last couple of years with lockdowns and restrictions. A lot of people have spent far more time alone than they would do normally. But for me, it particularly resonated in that I guess I feel that I'm in the minority with my views and my feelings, and by having some courage in my convictions, I guess, and being prepared to stand with those convictions. What have we got? Five of Pentacles here. So this poor woman is outside of the building, isn't she? She's kind of shut out and trying to listen or trying to figure out what's going on. But I would imagine feeling quite sorry for herself. The Six of Hazards. Now we've got a zombie cutting our grass with the lure of some meat there. So as I said, we are beginning to domesticate the zombies, which is hilarious, isn't it, really? Here we have a scientist again with a zombie hooked up to various bits of equipment to study and research and monitor the zombies. Here we have a zombie's head in a jar for all of us to remember forever, the zombies. The horror of the zombies, a specimen head in a jar. The 9 of Pentacles. This is where we've managed to get back to shopping, the little safety bubbles of our shopping, and we've got all the zombies on the outside of the shops where they can't get at us and hurt us anymore. It's called the Dead Mart. Instead of the Supermart, the Dead Mart. Again, that resonates on so many different levels, that card. So many different levels. And then lastly, the 10 of Pentacles, which is normally people in a marketplace with their pets and their families, enjoying a sense of community. And here we see a very normal looking family being attended to by their servants, which are zombies. So we have fully domesticated the zombies at this point. So yeah, brilliant cards. I love them. I'm sure I will use them at some point, but they have actually they've actually caused quite a lot of thought in my head, quite a lot of reflection about our current situation in life, really. So yeah, I expect that this video will not resonate for all of you. I expect that there are many, many people out there with different views to me, different opinions to me, people who are fully vaccinated with their boosters, who are fully engaged with this whole process, and probably feel quite strongly about people like me who are not. But as I said, these are my opinions, these are my views, these are my thoughts. And if we're not allowed to have our own thoughts and feelings anymore, then really what is there? If we're not allowed to have control over our own minds, over our own bodies anymore, then that's a very, very sorry state of affairs, isn't it? So there we go. I do hope I don't lose any subscribers over this video. It's possible. I hope not. It may gain me some, maybe some people that I would be surprised about. Who knows? But anyway, I love these cards. There's many things to like about them. They're just they just very, very much reflect things that are going on in our own lives at the moment, more so than any tarot deck that I've ever looked at. So for that reason, I felt quite strongly drawn to talk about them. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it's given you some things to think about at the very least, actually. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.